All right, what if I told you that competition is for losers? I know, it sounds crazy, right? But that's the big, controversial idea at the very heart of Peter Thiel's Zero to One. This is the book that basically shaped a whole generation of Silicon Valley founders. So today, we're going to break down how Thiel thinks about building the future. And it's not by copying what's already out there. No, it's about creating something totally, completely new.
So this right here, this is the core distinction of the entire book. You've got 1 to N, which is all about copying what already works. You can think of it like globalization, just spreading existing ideas around. But 0 to 1, that's about technology. It's the act of pure creation. It's building something the world has literally never seen before. And according to Thiel, that is the only real path to truly transformative success. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with that core concept, 0 to 1. Then we'll dive right into Thiel's pretty wild take on why competition is a trap. From there, we'll explore what he calls the monopoly mindset, lay out a blueprint for actually creating one, and finally, we'll talk about how you protect it with a moat. So let's kick things off with the central idea. The future, in Thiel's view, isn't about just doing more of the same old thing. He believes that real, era-defining success comes from building businesses that create brand new value, and then, crucially, capturing that value by becoming a monopoly.
Now, this is where things get really interesting, because it challenges everything we're taught in business school. We're told competition is healthy, right? That it drives innovation and is great for consumers. Well, Thiel comes along and argues the exact opposite.
Just let that one sink in for a second. Capitalism and competition are opposites. This is a statement that's absolutely designed to shock you, because it flips a foundational belief completely on its head. But what in the world does he actually mean by this? Well, here's his logic. Under perfect competition, companies are basically locked in a death match, right? They're all just slashing prices and margins until nobody makes any real profit. Survival becomes the only goal. But a monopoly, a company so unique it has no real competition, can generate lasting profits. And those profits? They aren't just for lining pockets. They're the fuel you need for future innovation and for making those big, bold, long-term plans. So, if a monopoly is the goal, how do you even get there? Thiel argues it's not about luck. It's not about chance. It's about a fundamental shift in how you think. It all starts with rejecting the idea that your future is just something that happens to you. And he really forces us to ask this critical question. Do you believe your life is basically a lottery ticket, just a random series of events? Or do you believe you can actually architect your own success through deliberate planning and design? Your answer to this one question, he says, changes absolutely everything. Thiel even takes this critique to our education system. He says it's built on that luck premise. It encourages us all to be well-rounded generalists. And the result? We become kind of average at a lot of things, but we're masters of none. This way of thinking, he says, stifles the deep, focused expertise you need for a 0 to 1 breakthrough. And this is Thiel's call to action. It's so powerful. You are not a lottery ticket. You have agency. You can, and you absolutely must shape your own future. Success comes from getting laser-focused, from developing skills that make you stand out, and most of all, from having a plan. Okay, so how do you turn that mindset into an actual strategy? To build a 0 to 1 company, you need a blueprint. And Thiel gives a pretty clear 3-part plan for creating a dominant business right from the ground up.
The process itself is almost deceptively simple. First, you don't try to conquer the whole world at once. You start by totally dominating a very specific, very small niche market. Then, inside that market, you deliver a solution that isn't just a little bit better, it has to be radically better. And only after you completely own that niche do you even think about scaling up and expanding. In this number is everything. A 10 times improvement. Yeah, you heard that right, 10x. That means your product has to be 10 times faster or cheaper or just way more convenient than whatever people are using now. Why so much? Because anything less is just an incremental tweak. It's not enough to break people's habits and get them to switch. A 10x improvement, though, that literally creates a brand new market all by itself. So the takeaway here is crucial. Avoid competition at all costs. Big, established markets, they're red flags. They're basically just battlegrounds filled with giants. The real opportunity is in finding a small, well-defined group of people with a very specific problem that you can solve in a way that's just ridiculously superior. But look, creating a monopoly is only half the battle. Once you've built your awesome castle, you gotta build a serious moat around it. A monopoly isn't worth much if it can't be protected and sustained over the long haul.
Thiel lays out 3 key pillars for protecting your monopoly. These are powerful forces that make it incredibly difficult for anyone else to challenge you once you're established. We're talking about network effects, economies of scale, and of course, branding.
So let's break these down super quick. Network effects, that just means your product gets more valuable as more people use it. Think about a social network. Economies of scale, that means as you get bigger, your costs per unit get lower, which makes it impossible for smaller players to compete on price. And finally, a strong brand creates trust and makes it way cheaper to get new customers, forcing any competitor to spend a fortune just to get noticed.
So to wrap this all up, let's just circle back to the core beliefs that hold this whole philosophy together. First, just copying what works, globalization, is not enough. We need new technology. Second, capitalism actually thrives on monopoly, not competition. And finally, and this is maybe the most important one, we are the masters of our own destiny. And we'll leave you with this final provocative thought. You know, the future is unknowable, and making bets on it is always going to be risky. But the alternative, having no plan at all, that's a guaranteed path to mediocrity. Thiel is really pushing us to think, to plan, and to have the courage to build something new, something that actually takes us from 0 to 1.